At dawn, 603 motorcycles lined up outside a tiny restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee. The engines created a sound that made windows 3 blocks away shatter. But to understand why 603 bikers rode through the night, you need to go back 72 hours to when Elizabeth Thompson made a choice that would change everything. 72 hours earlier, Tuesday morning. Liz wiped the same table for the 5th time, her dark hands moving in circles that had become automatic after 43 years of family ownership. The breakfast rush had ended 2 hours ago, 6 customers. Last Tuesday, 23 people had waited for tables, but that was before the whispers started, before neighbors began crossing the street to avoid her. The bell chimed. Raymond Cartwright entered with his usual entourage of 4 suited associates. He owned 3 car dealerships, 2 strip malls, and Liz's survival. His corporate catering contract brought in $4,000 monthly. Without it, the bank would have seized everything 6 months ago. Miss Thompson, the usual table. His voice carried the confidence of a man who knew his importance. As Liz led them to the corner booth with the cracked vinyl she couldn't afford to replace, the bell chimed again. The man who entered made the air change, 6'3", 240 pounds of muscle wrapped in black leather. A steel pilgrim's patch covered his back, a medieval knight on a motorcycle. Tattoos crawled up his neck, heavy boots thudded against linoleum. His beard was thick enough to hide knives. His eyes swept the restaurant before landing on Liz. "Ma'am, table for 1? "Of course, sir. Anywhere you'd like." He chose the window table, moving with surprising grace. As he settled in, the chair creaking under his weight, a sharp sound cut through the quiet. "What is that doing in here?" Cartwright's voice could have cut glass. Liz turned slowly. "That's a customer, Mr. Cartwright." "That's white trash on wheels." Cartwright stood, his 6'1" frame seeming to fill the space. "Do you know what those animals do? They terrorize neighborhoods. They deal drugs. They're criminals in leather jackets pretending to be a motorcycle club." The biker, Jacob, though Liz didn't know his name yet, sat motionless. His expression gave nothing away, but his knuckles had gone white where they gripped the table edge. "Mr. Cartwright, please," Liz began. "You're going to serve him." Cartwright's voice rose 3 octaves. "You're going to let that white criminal sit here like he belongs in civilized company, while respectable black businessmen eat?" Something cold crystallized in Liz's chest. She'd heard that tone before. Different words, same hatred. When she was 7, a white store owner had used that exact pitch talking about her father. "Those people don't belong here," he had said. She'd sworn then, that she would never let anyone make another human being feel subhuman. Not in her presence, not ever. "He's a customer," Liz repeated, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. "Same as anyone else who walks through that door." Cartwright's face darkened from brown to nearly purple. "You're choosing that over me? Over my business? Do you know why 95% of small business owners fail when faced with exactly this choice? It's not the economy. It's not competition. It's the moment when doing what's right costs everything you've built. Most people choose survival. Liz Thompson chose something else. The restaurant held its breath. Even the ancient refrigerator seemed to stop humming. Liz thought about the eviction notice in her desk drawer, about her mother's hospital bills, $12,317 and climbing daily. About the 72 hours she had before the bank foreclosed on 43 years of family legacy. She thought about her father's face 40 years ago, walking out of that store with his dignity intact. "Yes," Liz said quietly, "I am choosing him. Because this isn't about business, it's about being human." Cartwright's laugh had no humor in it. "You just destroyed yourself. Congratulations." He turned to his associates. "We're leaving, and we're never coming back. Mr. Cartwright, if you just... My corporate account? Canceled, effective immediately. The Johnson wedding reception scheduled here for Saturday? I'm moving it to Romano's, and everyone I know, and Miss Thompson, I know everyone in this city, will hear about this, about how you betrayed your own people for white biker trash." He leaned close, his whisper somehow more threatening than shouting. "You think you're noble? You're a race traitor. Your parents would be ashamed." The words hit like a fist to the stomach. Her father had literally died building this restaurant, heart attack while carrying supplies. Her mother had poured 40 years into these walls, and Liz was about to lose it all. But her voice didn't waver. My father taught me that character matters more than color. He'd be proud, I remembered. Cartwright's lip curled. We'll see how proud you are in the unemployment line. He swept out, his associates trailing behind like obedient dogs. The door slammed hard enough to crack the frame. Silence crashed down like a physical weight. Liz stood paralyzed, her mind doing calculations she didn't want to finish. $4,000 monthly. Gone. The Johnson wedding, $1,800, gone, and Cartwright's threat to poison her reputation. Ma'am? She'd forgotten Jacob. He stood now, wallet open, looking like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I'm real sorry. I shouldn't have come in. I'll just sit down. The words came out sharper than Liz intended. She took a breath. Please, you haven't done anything wrong. Jacob slowly lowered himself back into the chair. That man seemed important. He was my biggest client. Was being the key word. How much did you just lose? Defending me? Liz shook her head. That's not your concern. Ma'am, with all respect, you just nuked your business for a stranger. That makes it my concern. How much? The number felt obscene to speak aloud. About $6,000. Just this month. Jacob whistled low. He pulled out his wallet and counted bills. I got $217. It's not. Absolutely not. Liz stepped back like the money might bite her. I didn't do that for money. I did it because it was right. I know, but right doesn't pay rent. Please, let me. The door burst open. Clara Martinez stood there, Liz's neighbor for 15 years, the woman who brought tamales every Christmas Eve. Clara's face was flushed, eyes wide with something that looked like panic. Liz! Oh God, Liz, what did you do? Clara, what's... Cartwright is on the phone with everyone. He's telling them you chose criminals over customers, that you're not safe, that you're... Clara's voice dropped to barely a whisper. That you're a race traitor who turns her back on her own people for white thugs. The words hung in the air like poison gas. I couldn't believe what happened next. In the span of 4 minutes, Liz's phone exploded. 7 text messages, all cancellations, all using variations of the same phrase. We can't support someone who doesn't support their community. The 8th message made Liz's knees buckle. Memphis United Bank. Loan extension request denied. Full payment due within 48 hours or foreclosure proceedings begin immediately. 48 hours, $12,800. She had $1,732 in her account. I need to go, Clara whispered, already backing toward the door. My husband does business with Cartwright. If he finds out I was here... She fled before Liz could form words. The restaurant fell silent except for the refrigerator's hum. Jacob stood awkwardly, his $217 still in his hand, looking like he'd caused a natural disaster. You should eat something, Liz heard herself say. Her voice sounded like it belonged to someone else, someone watching from far away. Menus on the table. Ma'am, I can't possibly... Please. Liz met his eyes. Let me do this. It might be one of the last meals I serve in this place. Jacob slowly sat. Then I want your best, whatever you recommend. Liz moved into the kitchen on autopilot. Her mother's recipe. The one passed down 4 generations, fried chicken with collard greens, candied yams, and sweet potato pie. The same meal her father had served on opening day 43 years ago. Her hands moved through familiar motions while her mind spun uselessly. $12,800. 48 hours. Her mother's hospital bills adding $400 daily. The medications costing another $200. When she placed the plate before Jacob, his eyes went wide. Ma'am, this smells incredible. 4 generations, Liz said, her voice cracked. 4 generations of my family. Jacob took a bite. He closed his eyes. For 10 seconds, nothing existed except the food and the silence. When he opened his eyes, they were wet. My grandmother made chicken like this, he said quietly. Before she passed 15 years ago. I haven't tasted anything like it since. They sat there, the black restaurant owner facing bankruptcy and the white biker who'd accidentally triggered it, sharing a meal while the neighborhood turned its back. Jacob finished slowly, savoring each bite like it might be his last. He stacked his dishes carefully, then left the $217 under his plate, waited with a salt shaker. At the door, one massive hand on the frame, he paused. That man was wrong about you. You're not a traitor. You're the most loyal person I've met. Loyal to your principles. That's harder than being loyal to people who look like you. Then he was gone, his motorcycle's rumble fading into Memphis traffic. Liz stood alone. The $217 sat on the table. She should feel grateful. Instead, she felt numb. 217 against 12,800, like emptying the ocean with a teaspoon. Her phone buzzed. Another cancellation. The Wilson anniversary party. $350. Gone. She sank into a chair and buried her face in her hands. Didn't hear her phone buzz 17 more times over the next hour. Didn't see the neighborhood WhatsApp group explode with messages about that woman who chose white criminals over her own people. By the way, if this story has you hooked, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What happens next will blow your mind. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. 90 miles away in Tupelo, Mississippi, Jacob pulled into a gravel lot behind a warehouse. His hands shook so hard he could barely kill the engine. 24 motorcycles already lined the fence. Inside, the Steel Pilgrims' weekly meeting was starting. 53 members from the Mississippi chapter. The air smelled like leather, motor oil, and cheap beer. Men and women in their colors, the medieval night patch, stood in clusters, trading stories. Marcus Hammer Williams stood at the front, 62 years old, 19 years stitched into his patch. His arms bore tattoos that told stories of a life lived hard and survived harder. A scar ran from his left ear to his collarbone, a knife fight that should have killed him 23 years ago. "All right, settle down." Marcus's voice cut through the noise. The room fell silent instantly. When Marcus spoke, people listened. First order of... The door banged open. Jacob stood there, face pale, breathing like he'd run a marathon. "Jacob?" Marcus frowned. "You okay, brother?" "I need to tell you something." Jacob's voice shook. "I need the club's help." The warehouse went dead silent. In 19 years, Marcus had never heard Jacob ask for help. The man once rode 70 miles with a broken collarbone rather than call for assistance. "What happened?" Jacob walked to the center. 53 pairs of eyes followed him. "I stopped for breakfast in Memphis, little soul food place called Liz's Soul Kitchen. The second I walked in, this black businessman started in on me, called me white trash, criminal, said I was terrorizing communities." A few members bristled. They'd all heard it before. "The owner," Jacob continued, his voice cracking, "this black woman named Liz, she could have thrown me out, should have. This guy was her biggest client, $4,000 monthly. But she didn't," Marcus said quietly. "She didn't." Jacob's voice broke completely. "She stood up to him, told him I was a customer same as anyone. He threatened her, said he'd destroy her business, called her a race traitor for defending me." The warehouse temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "She defended a white biker from a black racist," someone whispered. "And lost everything," Jacob confirmed. "I did some checking after. Her restaurant's been in her family 43 years. Her father died building it. Heart attack carrying supplies. Her mother's in the hospital right now. Has been 3 weeks. Congestive heart failure. Bills are over $12,000. He pulled out his phone. "I called the bank, pretended to be a potential buyer. They told me she's got 48 hours to pay $12,800 or they foreclose." "Jesus," Ray Knuckles Johnson breathed. At 71, he was the oldest pilgrim nationwide. "Here's the thing that kills me." Jacob's hands trembled. "After that businessman left, after her neighbor told her the whole community was turning against her, after she found out she was losing everything, you know what she did?" The room waited. "She cooked me the best meal I've had in 15 years, sat with me, made sure I was okay, like I was the one who needed comfort." The story of a woman who lost everything defending a stranger. Do you understand what that means? It means she valued human dignity more than survival. And now she had 48 hours before everything her family built for 4 decades disappeared. "How much does she need total?" Ray asked. $12,800 for the bank, another $12,000 for hospital bills, at least $6,000 for lost business this month. Call it $31,000, give or take. Marcus stood motionless, his scarred face unreadable. Then, "Show of hands. Who thinks we ride to Memphis and help this woman?" Every hand went up. All 53. "Ray, call the other chapters," Marcus ordered. "Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Missouri. Tell them what happened. Tell them we ride at dawn. Anyone who wants to stand with us meets at the Mississippi state line at 0500 hours. Ray stepped outside, phone already to his ear. Marcus turned to Jacob. This businessman, Cartwright, you said? He threatened her? Destroyed her reputation? Called her a race traitor, poisoned the whole community against her. And her neighbors? Turned their backs. One woman, 15-year neighbor, ran like the building was on fire. Marcus's jaw tightened. So she stood alone, against her own community, because she believed it was right. Yes, sir. Marcus walked to the center of the room. Brothers and sisters, you all know my story. 23 years ago, I was bleeding out in a Memphis alley. 3 gang members had just finished carving me up over territory that had nothing to do with me. Wrong place, wrong time. His hand unconsciously traced the scar. A man found me. Black man, about 50, wearing a work uniform. He could have kept walking. Most would have. 3 gang members still hanging around. But he didn't. He put himself between me and those boys. Talked them down, got me to a hospital, waited 3 hours to make sure I'd live, then disappeared before I could get his name. Marcus looked at Jacob. All I remember is his work shirt. Said, Thompson Construction. Jacob's face went white. What did you say? Thompson. I've been looking for that family for 23 years. What's this woman's full name? Elizabeth Thompson. Liz Thompson. The warehouse exploded. Voices overlapping, people standing, the energy electric. Quiet! Marcus's voice cracked like a whip. Instant silence. That was her father. The man who saved my life 23 years ago was Liz Thompson's father, and now his daughter is about to lose everything because she did exactly what he would have done. Ray came back inside, grinning like Christmas morning. Tennessee's in, 112 bikes, Arkansas 63, Louisiana 97, Alabama 71, Missouri 42, plus our 53. Marcus did the math. 438. Still counting, Ray said. Word spreading. Kentucky and Georgia want in. Florida's asking if they can make the trip. Ohio just called. Tell them yes. Tell everyone yes. Marcus turned to the room. Packlight. We leave at 0300. Meet at state line at 0500. By dawn, we're in Memphis. What about Cartwright? Someone called. Marcus smiled. Cold, dangerous. Oh, we'll have words with Mr. Cartwright. But first, we take care of Liz Thompson. Then, we deal with the man who tried to destroy her. In 24 hours, you'll see a result that will restore your faith in humanity. But first, Liz had to survive the darkest 48 hours of her life. Wednesday afternoon, 24 hours until foreclosure. Liz stood in her mother's hospital room, holding a hand that felt too light, too fragile. Tubes ran from her mother's arms. Monitors beeped their rhythm. The woman who'd carried this family for 40 years looked small in the white sheets. Baby girl, her mother whispered, you look tired. I'm fine, Mama. Don't lie to your mama. A weak smile. What's wrong? Liz couldn't tell her. Couldn't say that in 24 hours they'd lose the restaurant, that the community had turned its back, that everything they'd built was crumbling. Nothing, Mama, just busy. Her mother's eyes, still sharp despite the illness, studied her face. Your daddy used to get that same look, when things were hard, but he always said, do what's right, even when it costs everything. You remember that? Liz's throat closed. I remember. Good. Because right now, looking at you, I can tell you did something that cost you everything. And I'm proud. Mama, you don't even know. I know my daughter. I know you got your daddy's heart. That's all I need to know. Liz left the hospital as sunset painted Memphis orange and gold. Her phone showed 43 missed calls. She didn't check them, knew what they'd say. More cancellations, more accusations, more people turning their backs. At the restaurant, she sat in the dark, going through old photos. Her father on opening day, beaming. Her mother behind the counter, young and strong. 43 years of memories about to become foreclosure notices. She must have fallen asleep at some point, head on the photo albums. Thursday morning, 4:57 a.m. Liz jerked awake. Something was wrong. The building was shaking. Dishes rattled in cabinets. Windows vibrated in their frames. She stumbled to her feet, disoriented. Then she heard it. Low and distant at first, like thunder rolling across a distant prairie. But it didn't fade. It grew. The rumble built into something physical, something that pressed against her chest and made her teeth ache. She moved to the window and pulled back the curtain. The street was dark, empty, but that sound. Then lights appeared. Headlights, not dozens, hundreds, coming down Beale Street like a mechanical river of chrome and steel and thunder. Why the worst moments in your life always come right before the best ones. That's the secret nobody tells you. The darkness is always deepest right before dawn breaks. The motorcycles kept coming. And coming. And coming. Liz watched through the window, hands pressed against glass as the street filled with an army of leather and metal. They lined up in perfect formation, engines creating a symphony of controlled thunder. 100, 200, 300. She stopped counting. Across the street, Raymond Cartwright stepped out of his Mercedes. He'd probably come to gloat to watch her final hours before foreclosure. His smug smile froze when he saw the motorcycles. Then it melted completely as more kept arriving. And more. And more. His face went from brown to gray to nearly white. The lead rider dismounted. Older, maybe 60, silver threading through his beard. He removed his helmet and walked toward Liz's door with surprising grace for a man his size. Behind him, hundreds more began dismounting in synchronized waves. He knocked, 3 firm raps that somehow carried respect despite the chaos. Liz opened the door on shaking legs. "Elizabeth Thompson?" His voice was gentle despite the thunder outside. "Yes." "My name is Marcus Williams, president of the Steel Pilgrims Motorcycle Club." He gestured behind him. "We've got 603 riders here from 8 states. We heard about what you did for our brother Jacob, how you stood up to that businessman, how you lost everything defending someone you didn't know." Liz couldn't speak, couldn't process. "We're here to make things right," Marcus continued. "But first, I need to tell you something." He paused. 23 years ago, your father saved my life." The world tilted sideways. "I was bleeding out in an alley off Beale Street. 3 gang members had just finished carving me up. Your father, he put himself between me and them, got me to a hospital, stayed until he knew I'd live. I never got to thank him." Marcus's voice cracked. "I've been looking for the Thompson family for 23 years. When Jacob told me what happened, when he said the name Thompson," he pulled out a worn photograph. "Is this him?" Liz took it with trembling hands. Her father. Younger, but unmistakably him, standing next to a bloodied young man outside a hospital. "He never told me," she whispered, "never said a word. Because he didn't do it for recognition. He did it because it was right." Marcus met her eyes. "Just like you did for Jacob. Your father gave me my life. Let me give you back yours." He pulled out an envelope. Inside is a certified check for $38,400. Covers your bank debt, hospital bills, and 3 months operating expenses. It's not a loan. It's family taking care of family. Liz's knees buckled. Marcus caught her elbow. "We're not done," he said gently. "Tommy," a younger biker jogged over. "Tommy's a contractor. He and 15 of our members are renovating this place. New floors, new booths, fresh paint, new equipment, on our dime. I can't, you can, and you will." Marcus's voice was firm but kind. "Because as of right now, you're family, and family doesn't let family fall." Stop. Before you think this is just a feel-good story, you need to understand what happened next. Because what Marcus did to Raymond Cartwright became legendary in Memphis. But first, Liz needed to process that 603 strangers had just ridden through the night to save her. The next 8 hours were controlled chaos. Bikers swarmed the restaurant like a well-organized army. Some carried in supplies, wood, paint, equipment. Others measured walls with professional precision. 3 women, Steel Pilgrim members, organized the kitchen with military efficiency. Someone brought breakfast for everyone. Not from one restaurant, but from 5 different places, because nobody wanted Liz to cook on the day she was being saved. At noon, Cartwright's black Mercedes was still parked across the street. He'd been standing there for 6 hours, watching the transformation, his face cycling through confusion, fear, and growing horror. Marcus walked across the street. Didn't hurry. Didn't need to. 603 pairs of eyes watched Cartwright realize exactly how catastrophically he'd miscalculated. "Mr. Cartwright," Marcus's voice carried across the street, I believe you owe Miss Thompson an apology." "I don't owe that woman anything." Cartwright's voice shook. She chose to defend a member of my family from your bigotry," Marcus interrupted. "She chose character over profit, dignity over dollars, and you punished her for it, called her a race traitor, destroyed her business, poisoned her community against her." Cartwright looked at the sea of leather surrounding him. "You can't threaten me. I'll call the police." "Please do." Marcus pulled out his phone. "While you're at it, explain why you used racial slurs against one of my members, why you deliberately destroyed a black woman's business because she refused to discriminate against a white man. I'm sure Channel 5 News would love that story. I've got their number right here." The color drained from Cartwright's face. "Here's what's going to happen," Marcus continued, his voice conversational but carrying an edge that could cut steel. "You're going to walk across that street. You're going to get on your knees in front of Miss Thompson. And you're going to apologize for every bit of harm you've caused. Then you're going to reinstate every contract you canceled. And you're going to tell everyone, that you lied about her." "I won't." 603 engines roared to life simultaneously. The sound was physical, apocalyptic, pressing against eardrums and rattling teeth and shaking the ground. Every car alarm on the block triggered, windows rattled, the Mercedes vibrated so hard its side mirrors shook. Cartwright stumbled backward, hands over his ears, face twisted in fear. The engines cut off. Silence crashed down like a hammer. "You were saying?" Marcus asked quietly. "The thing that's passed down through generations in the biker community. It's not violence, it's accountability." And Raymond Cartwright was about to learn what that meant. 5 minutes later, Raymond Cartwright knelt on the sidewalk in front of Liz's Soul Kitchen. Tears streamed down his face. 47 cell phones recorded every moment. 36 neighborhood residents watched from porches, including Mrs. Henderson, Liz's 15-year neighbor who'd run away the day before. "I was wrong," Cartwright choked out. "I was hateful and wrong and cruel. I'm so sorry. I said terrible things. I did terrible things. I tried to destroy you because you were better than me, because you had the courage to stand up for what's right, and I didn't." Liz stood above him, Marcus at her side, feeling something break open inside her chest. Not anger, not triumph, just exhaustion and relief, and something that might have been forgiveness starting to form. "I forgive you," she said quietly. "Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to hate would make me just like you were." By sunset, the restaurant was transformed. New hardwood floors gleamed under fresh LED lighting. The cracked vinyl booths had been replaced with solid wood craftsmanship. State-of-the-art kitchen equipment filled the back: commercial-grade fryers, industrial dishwasher, professional-grade refrigeration. A hand-carved wooden sign hung over the bar, letters burned into oak: "Official home of the Steel Pilgrims MC." Marcus gathered everyone outside as the sun painted Memphis in shades of amber and gold. 603 bikers, Liz in the center, Clara Martinez, and 46 neighborhood residents who'd crept back once word spread. "Today we paid a debt 23 years old," Marcus announced, his voice carrying across 3 blocks. "Today we showed this city what family means. Not blood, not color, character, loyalty. Standing up when it costs you everything." He turned to Liz. "You're one of us now, forever. Anyone messes with you, they mess with 603 of us. You need anything, you make one call and we ride. That's the Steel Pilgrim's promise. That's family." Liz looked at the faces surrounding her. Black, white, Latino, Asian, young and old. Scarred and tattooed and rough around every edge. Every single one had ridden through the night because a stranger did the right thing. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say you'll make us that fried chicken recipe every Thursday night," Ray Knuckles called out, his 71-year-old voice strong as ever. "Because Brother Jacob won't shut up about it." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Liz laughed too, tears streaming, something in her chest that had been clenched tight for 72 hours finally releasing. If you loved this story about justice, family, and standing up for what's right, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss more incredible true stories about kindness winning over hatred. Because the world needs more stories like this. 3 months later, Liz's Soul Kitchen was the most successful restaurant in Memphis. Lines formed around the block every Thursday when the Steel Pilgrims gathered. Cartwright had publicly apologized on Channel 5 News. The clip went viral, 14 million views, and had become an unlikely ally, sending business her way constantly, desperate to atone. Her mother recovered fully, discharged from the hospital with every bill marked "paid in full." But the real change was deeper, more profound. The restaurant had become a symbol, a place where color didn't matter, where bikers and business people sat side by side, where the only requirement for entry was treating everyone with basic human dignity. On Thursday evenings, Liz would stand behind her counter, her father's counter, and watch her packed restaurant and feel 603 brothers and sisters at her back. Marcus's scar had come from her father's mercy 23 years ago. Now that scar had brought mercy full circle, proving that kindness echoes across decades, that debts of honor never expire, and that real family is built on choices, not chromosomes. The rumble of 603 motorcycles every Thursday night brought more than just customers. It brought redemption. For Liz, for Marcus, for a community that learned standing together matters infinitely more than standing with people who merely look like you. And every Thursday, when those engines roared to life outside her windows, shaking the ground and rattling the glass and making the whole block vibrate with controlled power, Liz Thompson smiled. Because she knew exactly what that sound meant. Family was here, and family never leaves.